So, are you new to cloud computing or just trying to enhance your career? Here are 5 insider tips in how to find your dream cloud computing job. So, welcome back to the Cloud Computing Insider podcast, where we talk about the realities of cloud computing and generative AI. My name is Dave Linthicum, author, speaker, B-list geek, and here to talk to you today about the 5 insider tips and how you can best find your cloud computing job. Let's get to it. So this is often requested. I get a lot of people who reach out to me on LinkedIn and Twitter and email, and they want to know how they can best find a cloud computing job. And they're coming from a few different directions. Number one, somebody may be repivoting their career toward cloud computing. It could be a teacher, a police officer, something like that. And now they want to get into the cloud. Someone who is looking for an entry level position, someone who's just left college, for example, or even somebody who's been in the IT world for many, many years that's just looking for that one dream job where they can take their career to the next level, get the pay they want, or operate and the lifestyle that they want, and really get to that dream position that's going to be an awesome place to be, an awesome place to spend your time and working with some great people, some great technology. And that's what we're all looking for. So the first tip is to define what you want to do in the general and in detail. So this is something that drives me nuts. I'll ask somebody will come to me and they say they're looking for a cloud computing job, and I immediately come back to them and say, "Well, what do you want to do in the world of cloud computing?" And they can't tell me. Sometimes they'll ask me to tell them, and that's not the answer that employers want to hear. So have a very well defined general idea of the kind of job that you're looking for, whether it's going to be a AWS engineer job, security engineer job, cloud computing architect, where you know a little bit of everything. You're looking for an AI engineer job, data scientist, whatever it is, you need to define exactly what you're looking for in terms of the category of work that you're looking to do, and have a general description. I call it the elevator pitch. In other words, in an elevator ride, can you describe to an employer or a potential employer as to exactly what you're looking for, and then also some details behind it, because you're going to get into a job interview and they're going to, if you say, I want to be a cloud architect, they're going to ask you what that means. And you have to be able to be prepared to tell them the duties of a cloud architect, your skill sets that align to your ability to be a cloud architect. And you can take that to security engineer, you can take that to cloud networking engineer, just a number of different categories of career paths that people are taking in the cloud computing world. So keep in mind that needs to be first and foremost. You need to tell somebody what kind of job you're looking for, why you have the skill sets what to do that job, and do so in general and in a very short pitch, and also do so in detail, which you're going to have to do when you get into an interview. So the next tip would be to define the training that you need. You got to remember, people in a cloud computing career path need to be continuous learners. They need to always be reading books and taking courses and updating their skills. And I don't care if you have a PhD and 3 master's degrees, this stuff is changing all the time. You're going to have to and keep up with the technology. So put together a plan in terms of what you're looking to do. I just mentioned you're going to have an idea of what kind of job you're looking to have: cloud computing network engineer, cloud security engineer, perhaps an AWS architect specialist. I mean, just a number of ways that you can take this career, and then put together a training plan that's going to keep you up to date with the correct skills that you're going to need to not only get the jobs, but be successful in the jobs. And that's 2 different things. You can get a job, but if you're not updating your skills, you're not going to be bringing enough value to that job where you're going to get the bonuses, you're going to get the raises, you're going to get the promotions. So this needs to be a hunger that never goes away. Your ability to train and look for information and disseminate how it's going to relate directly to what you're doing on the job. Now, the good news is there's free training out there. Many of the cloud vendors provide free training you can take, or normally there's a nominal fee. There's also other places you can go for on-demand training, LinkedIn Learning, the courses I teach. You can go to your local college university. They normally have cloud computing courses. You can also check out Go Cloud Careers, which is Mike Gibb's company, and he not only teaches you the cloud computing stuff, but he teaches you the details and how to interview and how to get a job. and have a relationship with those organizations and the fact that they're pushing out new content all the time. You're taking the new content, you're consistently updating your skills that are going to bring to bear things that you need to understand about the particular career path that you're in. For example, if you're a cloud security engineer, you need to understand what AWS and Microsoft and Google are doing in the cloud security realm, the new features that they're coming out with. How do you use those features? When does it apply? When is it? When should it be used? When it shouldn't be used? And your ability to understand that stuff and continuously learn really goes to the value that you're going to bring back to your employer. Also, your ability to get a job. So you're going to have to survive through an interview, and sometimes they're very technical interviews where they're going to ask you a lot of details about a particular type of technology, maybe something on your CV. You need to be prepared to provide them with a response or a detailed enough response where they understand that you have experiences and you've taken the time to understand the ins and outs of this particular technology. I can't stress that enough. So always have a training plan. You need to create a plan. Again, you need to pick a focus and you need to align that plan to your focus and continuously learn. I can't stress that enough. I always hire people that have the skills and the knowledge, but I focus on people that are continuous learners. In other words, their ability not only to have a certain amount of knowledge they acquired over recent years, but also a thirst and a hunger for them to update and to continuously learn and continually develop the talent. You got to remember, things are going to change. So your ability to walk in with a certain level of skill set is going to be one advantage, but ultimately your employer is going to look at your capabilities in terms of updating your skills as the technology starts to evolve. And as you've been in this industry for any given time, 2, 3 years in the cloud computing world is almost like 50 years in other industries. And you have to be able to keep up in a very rigorous, very changing pace of technological innovation and change. So the next tip would be for you to define the type of company you want to work for. Again, we've defined what our career path is, the kind of jobs we're looking for. In other words, we're able to tell people that. But also, you have to target your pursuit of jobs in terms of the kinds of companies, the types of companies that you want to work for. And they're not all always the same. And the way I like to look at it is we're really three categories of companies that hire cloud professionals, and it's going to be industry, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, something like that. It's a company that actually does something. So in other words, they're producing tires, they're providing services, they're providing healthcare, they're building cars, whatever. And that's going to be an industry specific job. And so that means that you're part of the team that supports them manufacturing something or developing services, things like that with your cloud computing skills. Now, there's good and bad aspects of that. They pay all over the place. Sometimes they pay really well. Sometimes they don't pay really well. Also, you got to remember that the job you're going to have within that company is not necessarily going to value the cloud computing skills as much because they're there to produce. They're able to build a car, they're to create a service, they're able to sell something on the retail site, whatever. And so, therefore, the technology skills aren't going to be front and center in terms of what they do. And, I found this out in, being a CTO at a petrochemical company many years ago. And it was explained to me that, okay, you can get all the skills and technology you need to speak at the conferences and write the articles. But what we do here is we produce petrochemicals, and that's all we really care about. Now, that's probably not true. It's not all they really care about, but that's where the focus is going to be. And so they're not necessarily going to focus on what you're doing because the company, as any business does, is going to look at what they do and their ability to enhance what they do. And even though you have a supporting role in that, it's not something that's going to directly be on everybody's radar screen because they're focused on the purpose of the company. So keep that in mind. Next would be technology companies. So it's working for a cloud computing provider. It's working for a SaaS provider. It's working for a software builder and provider, working for a hardware provider. And those are great jobs. They pay pretty well. You can certainly work for startups and put a little risk in the game and make some money. That's the upside. And so they're going to value your skills, and your skills go directly into the innovation of the product. And they understand that that's the case. And so you're going to be front and center in terms of their success. and they're probably going to invest in you more than some of the industry jobs. I'm just making generalities here. And also, you get a hold of the movers and shakers in the industry. Some of the superstars will work at some of these software companies. You're able to, make connection and do stuff. They have a tendency to give you the best breed solutions because it's not like industry where they have budgets to keep. They can't update and upgrade as quickly as they'd like. It makes sense for them to leverage the best of breed, the best technology out there. And so you're going to have access to the best technology, the newest technology, and stay on the innovative cusp. You got to remember that these companies make money because they're able to stay out ahead of the technology curve. And so they're going to give you the best technology to work with. And that's going to be a great advantage in moving forward. You're going to work with smart people. So there's lots of benefits there. Some of them have a tendency to be very aggressive. So in other words, you may find that 40-hour work week is something that just doesn't happen. You're working 60, 70 hours, maybe some travel involved. There's some risk there. You got to remember some of these companies will shut their door if they can't make it, or you're going to be acquired by another bigger company, and therefore your job's either going to be on the line or you're going to have to assimilate with this new company. So those are some of the downsides. But of course, technology companies come in all shapes and sizes. There's huge companies, many billions of dollars in revenue, and then there's smaller companies, say 500 million and less in revenue. And so, and small startups that people are joining all the time, and certainly net new companies that are being built all the time and financed all the time. So you can get into any number of companies at different stages in their maturation. And depending on how much risk tolerance you have, those may be the right things for you to do. Ask a lot of questions. In other words, make sure when you jump into these technology companies that you're jumping to the right companies for the right reason. So the third would be consulting. And there's lots of companies out there that focus on consulting and providing IT services. They can be big integrators, and they're all over the place in the kinds of services that they offer. There's small boutique consulting companies that maybe have a few dozen people, and sometimes those are fun to work with. And of course, there's huge mega companies, consulting companies out there that have hundreds of thousands of people that are in them and major clients. The good thing around consulting companies is they have a tendency to pay well, because you got to remember that it's not an easy job. You're going to be learning as you go, lots of different client engagements. So you're going to be asked to do what I call a lot of uncomfortable things, and certainly getting on airplanes and things like that. So they're going to compensate you for that. But of course, you have to travel. You're working in a rather dynamic environment. They can be aggressive sometimes in terms of their promotions. They can be political sometimes. You have to kind of keep an eye on that. And they're all over the place in terms of what their capabilities are and what they're able to provide to you as an employee. Normally, they invest heavily in their employees. You got to remember, you're their product. So they're going to make sure your skills are up to date. They're going to make sure you're getting what you need. They're going to provide you with a very comfortable environment. You'll see that most of the top companies to work for in the United States are going to be consulting companies because they value their employees a lot, and they put together programs to make sure their employees are going to be happy. So consider that. So there's some downsides. Again, travel can be aggressive, things like that. But you have to look typically at the specific company that you're looking to move into. Ask a lot of questions. Do a lot of if you're on LinkedIn, message people who work for the company, and ask them what they think. And by the way, that goes for any of the other types of companies, technology and industry. Do as much research as you need, but you're going to need to define category of company that you're looking to move into, whether that's industry, technology, consulting, or something else. And it helps you kind of narrow your target search to a certain area. And I advise you, I think you should do that. So next would be to learn about the best ways to find a job. And this can be a skill unto itself. In other words, how do you leverage the online systems? How do you leverage networking to find the right positions? And how do you make sure that you're not wasting your time with some of these organizations out there that are hiring? And it's something that I've been advising people about around for a long period of time, and it's changed in the last 10 years and how people work the system. So Recruiters, you're going to see certainly in LinkedIn Jobs and Indeed and Dice and other people out there who hire technical positions. They're going to be there's a lot of recruiters out there that represent a company, but they're not the hiring entity unto themselves. So they're retained to find talent and to get you in the door with some of these companies. That's all well and good. And I don't think you should avoid recruiters, but many of them you'll find they may not have a funded position. So they're gathering resumes. So they're able to present resumes if there's a need. So they're wasting your time. Sometimes they make you take tests and you have to interview with them first before you can interview with a client. And so it has a tendency to take more time than if you're dealing directly with the hiring entity, the company that's hiring you. So beware of those. Also, there's lots of scams out there that I'm seeing. One in particular, mentee of mine, where they had this whole recruiting office was set up. They had a web page and even have LinkedIn accounts. And the idea was to get you to a website to spend money on something that was a total scam. And so very elaborate, but those are out there as well. You have to be wary of those. So you have online features. You have LinkedIn Jobs, Indeed, Dice, any number of online resources out there to use. And again, since we know what we want to do, and we know the target company that we're looking for, it's easier to put the searches in to get to the exactly the positions that we're looking for. Also, look at what the terms are for employment. Is it going to be remote? Or is it going to be hybrid, which most of them are these days, or is it going to be in office? And so if the job's in New York and you live in Philadelphia, in-office jobs are typically not going to be on the table because you're not going to commute that far. You may be able to make a hybrid job work and certainly remote job work. So understand the terms before you start applying. And they will tell you in the listing as to whether or not they're hiring a remote hybrid or in office, and upfront about that. And by the way, keep in mind that companies may change their policies. They may hire you for remote work and they may decide they need you in the office. Those sorts of things need to be talked about prior to you accepting the job. The other thing is leverage your personal network. In other words, use LinkedIn and Twitter and all your social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, to network and let a lot of people know that you know are in the industry that you're looking for jobs. And you tell them what you're looking for and the type of company you're looking to work for. And you'll probably do that 20 times, and you'll have 5 people that will say they know a company that's looking, and you may get one interview out of that, which may be the job you end up getting. And so people have a tendency to find a lot of positions, even though we live in an online world, through personal connections and word of mouth, and leverage those as much as you can. So sorting through the noise is the other thing. You got to remember you're drinking from the fire hose if you're looking at something like LinkedIn Jobs. So how do you make sure you get through the amount of information that's coming here? Well, set up alerts within LinkedIn Jobs, and I'm sure some of the other social networking systems and job boards have this as well, where you can define the type of job, where you want to work, whether you're looking for remote, hybrid, or in office, and the kind of skills that you have, and they'll pop up alerts when these jobs come around. And that's a great service because you can't keep online all the time, keep looking back. So they push these jobs to you through emails every day or every week or however often you want to see it. And you can look and review the jobs based on the criteria that you put into the search, or keep checking back often. In other words, look for jobs ongoing, put a certain amount of time per week, say 20, 30 minutes where you're going to look on the job boards and see if there's any particular jobs that you may enjoy doing that may be the direction you're looking to move into. And the fifth tip is negotiating compensation and working terms, which is very important. Sometimes people who are extremely talented don't do this very well, and they end up making less than they should. And so that's something you don't want to do. Or blowing the job in some way because they're not prepared to answer some questions or make decisions or tell the company exactly what you need and what you're doing to work. So you need to have an understanding not only of the job you're looking to do and the qualifications that you have, but also, again, whether it's remote, hybrid, in office, the type of company you're looking for, whether you're looking for a signing bonus, the compensation range you're looking for. You have to have a very good understanding of that. perhaps some stock if you're working for a startup or even a bigger company. That could be part of your bonus. How often do they promote? How often they do a review, which normally means you're going to get a raise in pay. That should occur at least once a year. All these sorts of things need to be put on the table when you're talking to a potential employer. And be ready to ask questions. Don't accept what they're telling you. You can always ask them for things, and they're normally going to be just fine with that. They can say no, they're not providing a signing bonus, they're not providing stock, whatever, but at least you asked the question. And so therefore you've ticked that off as something that you need to understand about the company. So online resources, things like Glassdoor and LinkedIn, do some back channeling, evaluation of the company. Again, message people who work there, who may be a connection for you on LinkedIn or Twitter. Ask them what it's like to work at the company, and normally they'll give you a good, solid answer in terms of what the company does, what it's like to work for, what they do well, and what they don't do so well. And you want the good and the bad. Glassdoor is a good resource as well, where it's an online system where they're able to look at people who work at the company, and they're providing reviews for people who've worked at the company. Sometimes those can be misleading. Sometimes I find that they can be manipulated a bit, overly positive, things like that. So take them with a grain of salt, but they're another data point. So review the offer. Make sure you do the due diligence in terms of what the pay is for the type of job, that particular industry. What are the ranges? What are people getting paid out there? And you can find that out. You can find out people's salaries. You can look at Indeed. You can look at some of the other online resources out there. Well, they'll tell you the range of what people are getting paid, whether they're getting signing bonuses and stock, things like that. And then also make sure you deal with the terms. Probably the most important thing here, you got to remember that they're going to have policies in terms of how often you come in the office. If it's going to be a hybrid-based situation, if you work in a remote environment, in other words, you take a remote job, is that going to be disadvantaging you in some way? In other words, there's some sort of a political issue where you're not able to get the promotions, to get the raises you need because they view people who work remote as not necessarily having the same value as people who come into the office. All that stuff needs to be discussed. Also, travel that's required, that's a big one. If you're traveling 80%, that is not a sustainable travel schedule. And you need to make sure that you're talking to that. Some people enjoy travel, which is perfectly fine, but there's always a limit in terms of what you're able to take. Reviews and raises, when those are going to occur. And also advancement opportunities. In other words, how quickly people move up there, what's the turnover at the company, all those sorts of things. And then compensation, that's a complex array of things: profit sharing, signing bonuses, stock, benefits. You got to make sure you have healthcare, life insurance, vacations, holidays. All that stuff should be understood up front. So when you get right down to it, these are really applicable into most technology jobs. So you're able to define your role, what you want to do in detail and in general. You're able to define the training that you need. You're able to define the type of company you want to work for, very important. You're able to learn about the best way to find the jobs, recruiters, online, personal networks, things like that. And you need to be able to negotiate with an offer letter that it's going to be acceptable to you, with the terms are going to be acceptable to you. You got to remember, we're trying to find our dream job. We're trying to find a job that makes us happy. Potential employers normally want you to be happy. The biggest thing that I'm finding in disconnects between people who are being hired and employers that are hiring people is there's not enough communication one to another. They're not asking the questions. So that's on you. You need to ask the questions and make sure you have everything understood before you take the job. Well, that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, check out my InfoWorld blog, check out my LinkedIn learning courses, check out my book. Make sure to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I'll see you next time. You guys take care.